have a special guest with us today, Michael Cochran from Air Methods, and you're going to see something really cool today. You're going to see the helicopter, but before we go out there, he has some information that he would like to share with you about what he does, and then he'll open it up for you all to ask some good questions. So as he's talking, start thinking of questions that you would like to ask. Okay? I'm going to turn it over to Michael.
Like she said, like Ms. Wright said, my name's Michael. I am a flight nurse. Prior to being a flight nurse, I cut my teeth in nursing in the open heart recovery units, the surgical ICUs, the coronary ICUs. Did that for almost a decade before I started flying. I've been flying for the last 2 years now. Probably the best job I've ever had. Not only is it challenging, it's very rewarding. We help a lot of people, usually on the worst days of their life. Basically, we've taken two of the most heavily regulated industries in the world, and we've married the two of them together, and that's that of aviation and healthcare. The FAA governs aviation. They are the king dogs when it comes to that, and then healthcare, don't even get me started, the government runs that. The company that I work for, Air Methods. I'll say it. I wanted to talk about flight nursing and healthcare and aviation. I didn't really want to get company specific or anything. But basically there's, in the United States, there's 3 major air medical companies, otherwise referred to as HEMS. That's Helicopter EMS Services. And that would be your PHI, your Air Evac, and then us, Air Methods. And then there's numerous other smaller 1, 2, 3 helicopter companies that fly. Everybody has heard or seen the helicopter land on the side of the road for some traumatic emergency, car accident, four-wheeler accident, horse accident. We get called to a lot of that, but the truth is, that's only about half the calls we make. The other half of our calls come from hospital to hospital transfers. In a perfect world, all hospitals would be capable of taking care of all things, but in this world, hospitals specialize in different things. So just because you're at one hospital and you need the specialty of another hospital, you may end up getting transferred, and if the need be, you may end up getting transferred by air. That's what we do. That's where they bring in me as a critical care nurse versus just paramedics flying. Wasn't really for sure where I was going to go with this, but let's see. Does anybody have any questions right off the bat? Lay it on me.
At the beginning, whenever you said you have to pick people up, why would it be the worst day of their life?
All the nursing students are looking at you like.
Well, we only get called for emergency situations, number one, and even at that point, a lot of emergency situations can be handled by EMS, ground EMS. We get called when 2 things. A, when they've reached their limit and they can't handle it, they call us. We're their backup. We're their A team. Or 2, they can handle it, but they're so far out that we can straight line the patient to the hospital faster than they can. So we get called for two different things. We get called for our level of experience and our capabilities, and then we get called for our speed, our jet fuel. Yes, sir.
How long was your training to be a pilot, or to do what you do?
To do what I do, well, like I said, I spent a decade in ICUs learning how to be a nurse. I'm still not a very good one, but when literally the job just fell in my lap, and I told them I'd take it, and they said, here's a plane ticket, be in Denver next week. And I spent a couple of weeks out in Denver doing some training, and then when I got back here, I actually flew as a third rider, which is crew member in training for almost 6 months.
Is it required for all hospitals to have helipad?
No. As a matter of fact, Friday I made a OB flight from the southern part of this state to Norton Suburban, which is a great hospital when it comes to women and children's, but they do not have a helipad. So we ended up having to land our helicopter at Bowman Field and then take a short ambulance ride from Bowman Field over to the hospital. So, no, helipads are a luxury, and this is just a side note, everyone likes the rooftop helipads because they look so cool and you get such a great vantage point. And they are. They're awesome. But give me a ground helipad right outside the ER doors any day of the week, because if something's going to go wrong or something's going to go bad, it's going to happen in that elevator. I guarantee it. It always does. Yes. Only the Southern's asking? Okay, there we go.
How long does it take you from when you get a call to get in the air and be on the wing?
It depends on where the call is, but we have a rule that we have to have our aircraft in the air in less than 10 minutes from the time we're told. It takes a lot of people. It's not just us nurses and paramedics and pilots that are in the helicopter, because when we land the helicopter, you'll see a nurse, you'll see a pilot, and you'll see a paramedic. We've also got an entire maintenance staff. We've also got an entire dispatch center out in Omaha, Nebraska. Our company is a fairly large company. We've got over 400 helicopters scattered throughout the United States. We are the 5th largest air carrier in the United States, and that's counting Delta and Southwest. In the state of Kentucky, we have 9 helicopters and 1 airplane scattered. Typically, we will make, out of our base, anywhere between 30 and 60 flights a month. So it can be pretty busy. The truth is, it does get busier in the summertime, and that's because that's what we call trauma season, and that's when people are out doing all the fun stuff, and fun stuff tends to be more dangerous than Netflix. So, yes sir, you've had your hand up a while.
So lately we've been talking about like preparation before takeoff,
Uh-huh.
and like with the math and like figuring out the wind speed and like the weight and stuff like that. Do you guys do that before you take off, or do you already like
Our pilots continuously always have weather and all their information pulled up at all times. We have to fill out a risk assessment prior to every flight. All of that stuff's already pulled up at any given moment, so all they have to do is look at it, check it. When the call comes in, we're given a location and sometimes a patient weight, sometimes not. Sometimes they just tell us that it's within our carrying capacity. So they look at that location. Generally for scene flights, we're going to go somewhere to Louisville. So of course they want to check the weather where we're at, where they're at, and in Louisville, and everywhere in between, and make sure that we can make that flight safely.
Michael, we're working on weights and balances right now, and I think that's what it's directed to.
Oh,
You mentioned the weight on it.
gotcha.
yeah, like the pack, like the carrying and like where like you have like all your gear and stuff like that. Like could like something go wrong? Like ours, like also is like is all your like gear like tied down? And, like,
All of our gear is secured at all times. If the instance anything were to happen in flight, that no longer becomes a cardiac monitor. That no longer becomes something. That becomes a missile that's aimed straight for my head, and I don't want that to happen. So everything gets secured. As far as weights and balances, that's going to change with every crew mix. Now our pilots, they do 12-hour shifts, so and yes, they do a shift change. Whereas the med crew, we work 24-hour shifts. We work 2 days a week. So when I log on for duty, I'll log on with a pilot. 12 hours later, that pilot goes home and I stay and I get a new pilot. So, but at the beginning of their shifts, the pilots go through, they do their pre-flight inspections, and then they work up the weights and balances for that particular crew that day. The equipment that we carry is fairly constant. Every once in a while, we'll have to add a piece of equipment, but every piece of equipment we have a list at the base of what it weighs. So it's pretty easy to throw that number in the mix right there on the fly. But then we do a crew briefing, and the pilot will say, hey, weather looks good today, or weather looks like crap till 2 o'clock, and then after that, we're going to take it on a case-by-case basis. Patient weight, we'll be able to lift a 436-pound patient off the pad, and when they say that, that means that the capability is there to lift a 436-pound patient. But the truth is, if we have to go somewhere to pick a patient up, every minute that we're going, we're burning fuel. The more fuel we burn on the way there, the more patient weight we can carry on the way back. So, yes.
You mentioned like equipment, like the list of equipment you have, like is like what sort of equipment you need besides like that specific, like specific helicopters rather than a normal helicopter, like medical specific?
Medical specific. Well, we always carry a cardiac monitor. We always carry a mechanical ventilator. Geez, it'd be easier to tell you that, like I told the group this morning, we can do everything that they can do temporarily in an ER. We'll do it. We can do it in the back of our helicopter. We can do about 75% of what they can do in an ICU. We can do in the back of our helicopter. Now, granted, we're in the hospital. They're set up to do that long term. We're set up to get it started and do it short term from point A to point B. But we've got all the equipment, most of the drugs, and a lot of the stuff is custom made. Like our ventilator is not the same as the ventilator at the hospital because weights and balances. So we have to pair up with some of these companies and say, hey, these are going to be our requirements, and this is what we need out of you guys. Yes, sir.
You said you have a plane too. One plane, what scenario would you need that for?
Long distance flights. Like the JFK team out of Norton's uses that quite a bit. But I mean, if we need to go pick somebody up out in California, that's two or three fuel stops from here. It's not that big a deal. Yes, ma'am.
So what's the range of like the salary for like your job?
Okay, that's a good question. I mentioned that we had 9 bases within the state of Kentucky. If you can imagine a circle around each one of those bases, those circles would be about 75 miles across. And those circles will overlap. So like our sister base over in Bedford, we run up to Louisville, and they run from Bedford, Kentucky to Louisville. And then the one to the north is going to be Corydon, Indiana. And that way, if, say, they're down for maintenance or whatever, we can actually swing up and cover their area. That is our pickup area, though, is 75 miles. Our actual patient drop-off area is wherever they need to go. Sometimes that's U of L, sometimes that's U of K, sometimes that's Vanderbilt. I have made flights out of the Corydon base all the way to St. Louis. So, I mean, it's whichever facility is the most appropriate for that patient at that time.
Where's the longest you've ever flown to?
In a helicopter, St. Louis. St. Louis. And believe me, for a helicopter flight, that's a long one. Yes, ma'am.
So if a situation were to come up and you said that everything's like tucked away and tied down, are they within like easy access?
Tucked away, you will actually get to see it here in a few minutes. But yes, tucked away, tied down, and easy access. It's the deadly combo right there. Yes?
How many people are usually in the helicopter when these moves?
The crew is always 3 members. Well, I say always 3 members, but you're going to have your pilot, you're going to have your nurse, and you're going to have your paramedic. The nurse and the paramedic, we can't fly. I mean, we just can't fly. But the pilot can't do our medical stuff either, so that's what makes a good team. They pair a nurse with a medic because, like I said, my background's all ICU. I bring a lot. I throw my critical care down all the time. Bam. But truth is, up until I started flying, I'd never even been in the back of an ambulance before. I'd never seen the back of an ambulance before. I'd been that fortunate. So whoever the medic I'm working with that day, that's what they bring to the table. That's what they throw down. And so it makes for a good combination to cover a wide variety of situations.
Within a day, how many people like do you take care of?
Within a day? Okay, well, on a good day, none, because then I wasn't needed. On a bad day, I have made as many as 7 flights in one shift, one 24-hour shift. Yes, sir.
How do you determine which hospital to take a patient to?
Well, that's where it's my job and my paramedic's job to know what the capabilities are at a lot of the different hospitals, and that involves a lot of communication. Number one, we've worked at some of these hospitals, but we talk to them by phone, by fax. A lot of emails get sent back and forth. We talk to HMH right there every single morning to find out, who they have on for neurology, who they have on for cardiology. A lot of the different hospitals in Louisville. So it's kind of an experience thing. So it's our job to know what the hospital's capabilities are, and then it's our job to apply those when we make patient contact and we put hands on a patient. We see what's going on. We got to put 2 and 2 together and figure out where they need to be at to get the best care without having to go around their elbow to get back to their thumb.
Do you guys ever have to go pick up things like transplant?
No, we do not do the transplant. No. I have been involved with a couple of organ transplant things, but it's all been from the hospital side. I will tell you that the transplant people are I don't want to say they're a breed of their own, but they do handle all of their own stuff in-house. They don't really farm a whole lot of stuff out to other companies.
What do you do, what if someone's arms just passed, do you just take it?
Yes, we do. It wasn't an arm, it was a leg, but yeah, that happened to me a couple of weeks ago.
Keep that safe.
What do we do to keep it safe? Oh, there's no keeping it safe. We tie it down and get them where they need to go. All right.
So say you weren't like you said, on a good day you don't do any flights.
Yep.
What do you do if you're working a 24-hour shift and you don't have any flights? What do you do then?
Basketball and Xbox.
Really?
It's definitely firehouse style living. We've got a base. It's 3 bedrooms, a living room, an office, supply room. But do a whole lot of Xbox. We've got a basketball goal. We've got a gym set up out in the hangar. We'll work out. But yeah, we cook, we eat. You had your hand up first.
You answered a lot of my questions with that last one, but it's a 24-hour shift. You already answered some of it, what do you do in the off time, but
Naps. We really like our naps. We sleep till we're hungry and then eat till we're sleepy.
do you get paid for each time all the time you're on the base, or when you're active working?
No, we get paid for, if we're there on a 24-hour shift, we get paid for 24 hours.
So my grandpa down in Florida, he's a helicopter pilot for the Bay County Sheriff's Office.
Uh-huh.
And I was wondering if you ever do anything with the sheriff's office, ever fly with them, or if you ever
We do. We actually get quite involved with. Everybody hears that term search and rescue. Well, we are not. I guess the word would be certified for the rescue part of that operation, but we are definitely qualified for the search part of that operation, and we have been involved in multiple times with helping the police search for different individuals. As a matter of fact, we also do get involved when events like the hurricanes that have come in. We do get involved with that. We sent helicopters. I think we sent 14 helicopters to Texas when Harvey hit, and out of just the state of Kentucky, we sent 3 helicopters. They're staged right now in Myrtle Beach with full crews. So right now in the state of Kentucky, we're down, I think, 1 helicopter because the other 2 were our spares. But we do get involved with the rescue efforts. And as a side note, we've got a base in Haiti. And one of the perks for working for the company is that we can volunteer some of our time, and they'll fly us down to Haiti, and we fly around down there and help people. I don't know who had their hand up first, but I think the helicopter's already landed. If you guys want to, let's go take a look at it.